In June 2022, during a routine audit, I noticed Garrett manipulating expense reports. 12 hours later, after cross-checking receipts against his Instagram, I discovered that over 22 months, he had inflated $73,000. A ski trip to Aspen, listed as client entertainment, was actually with college friends. Captioned Boys Weekend, no clients in sight. A Miami vacation, supposedly a business meeting, had no registration records. It was private dinners, beach resorts, designer suits, and girlfriend time, all billed to the company. I compiled the evidence into a 47-page dossier, screenshots, receipts, everything encrypted and saved, with a copy in a safe. I waited, waiting for the right moment to make him pay for what he'd done. September 2024, LeWood Industries won the Regional Manufacturer of the Year award. Garrett went on stage before 340 people. Thank you, everyone. This represents what you can achieve when you lead with vision and integrity. The strategies we implemented, the business transformations, the client expansions, all driven by a pursuit of excellence. I'm honored to accept this award and look forward to the future. As I prepare to step in as CEO, LeWood's legacy will continue. I watched the video on YouTube in my apartment, a tangle of emotions choking me. Every strategy he mentioned, every transformation he praised, every success he celebrated was mine. And he had no idea. October 2024, Garrett proposed to Judge's daughter, Stephanie Lauren. The wedding was set for November 16, 2025, at the Langham Hotel, a $160,000 affair billed as business entertainment, all paid for by the company. Father emailed Aunt Judith about announcing Garrett as the next CEO and hinted at selling the remaining shares at a premium to Silver Point, then retiring. He even invited me to the wedding, insisting family photos must be perfect. October 18th, Father called, "Brenda, Garrett's wedding is November 16th at the Langham. Formal attire, you're coming. I'll be there, dressed properly." Important announcements. Family image matters. He hung up. I was standing in Boston Park. I knew the time had come. I called Christopher Phoenix plan launch in November. November 15th, 2025. I boarded Amtrak from Boston for a 22-hour ride. I could have flown in 2 hours, but I needed this time to think, to feel every solitary step of this journey. I brought a bag of clothes, an overnight bag, and my laptop containing 6 years of evidence. I stayed 3.5 miles from the Langham at the Hampton Hotel, $156 per night, paying out of pocket. Room 814, standard king bed. I unpacked, slipped into a navy blue dress, low heels, and Grandma's silver ring, my only jewelry. In the afternoon, sitting on the bed, I opened a small box with the ring and day letter I found among Grandma's belongings after her funeral. "My dearest Brenda, if you are reading this, I have already left. But I want you to know that your grandfather and I always understood your parents' actions, the favoritism, the cruelty, the way they ignored you. It broke our hearts. But we also saw your strength, your wisdom, your integrity. That is why I left you 2% of Charles' shares. Combined with what you've created, when the time is right, you will have majority control. Don't let them erase you, my dear. You were never the problem. You have always been the solution. Forever, your grandma, Dorothy." I read it again, fingers brushing the ring. "Grandma, I won't let them erase me, I promise." 4 p.m., Cathedral of the Holy Name, 280 guests. I sat in the 18th row, back row, family in the first 4 rows. The ceremony lasted 42 minutes. Garrett and Stephanie exchanged vows, rings, and a kiss. They walked past me. He didn't even glance my way. Family photos followed, 12 groups. No one called me to join. At 4:55 p.m., I quietly left the cathedral and took a cab to the Langham. 6 p.m. Ballroom. I scanned the seating chart. Table 1, Garrett, Stephanie, wedding party. Table 2, father, mother, the judge and spouse, Aunt Judith. Table 3, business partners, board members. Table 18 to 47 feet from family. Me with 7 strangers. Distant cousins, friends, girlfriends, Stephanie's colleagues, an older neighbor. I sat down. A cousin leaned over. "Sorry, how do you know the couple?" "I'm Brenda, Garrett's sister." "Oh, he has a sister." I didn't know. She looked confused, as if it was some shocking revelation. Another cousin, Michael, joined. Waiter Vincent's daughter, the one living in Boston. "Yes." "What do you do in Boston?" "Private equity." Blank stares. Garrett's friend's girlfriend, Jenna, tried to ease the tension. Do you work at the family company? No. Oh, awkward silence. Do you want to? I almost laughed. If they only knew. It's complicated, I said. Someone shifted the topic to flowers. The band, how beautiful Stephanie was. I sat among strangers, discussing my brother's wedding, while I myself felt like one. Across at table 2, Father laughed. Mother touched up her lipstick. Aunt Judith glanced nervously in my direction. Table 3's Roland Hayes and Patricia Brennan, who 6 years ago voted to save the company, didn't know they had handed control to me. Dinner arrived. Filet mignon, $185 per plate. Sarah, a cousin, asked again, do you get along with Garrett? How could I tell a stranger that for 6 years I'd been secretly saving my brother's career while he took all the credit? We're family, I said. She nodded, satisfied. I took 4 bites, sipped water, no wine. I had to stay sharp. 8:15 p.m., cake cutting, $6,000, 4 tiers, decorated with sugar flowers. 8:30, first dance. 8:45, Father rose and walked to the microphone. I knew the moment had arrived. Good evening. I'm Vincent Elwood, Garrett's father. I have never been prouder. Applause. I remember Garrett telling me he would one day run the company, I told him. As long as he worked hard and led with integrity, it would be his. Garrett, you did it. I am thrilled to announce that, effective January 2026, Garrett will assume the role of CEO of LeWood Industries. Thunderous applause. Garrett stood, waving proudly. This is legacy father and son, continuing what my father Charles built in 1962. Exciting strategic opportunities lie ahead. Family, company, legacy, rest assured, in the most capable hands. Then his tone shifted. His eyes scanned the room, landing on me. But I need to make one thing clear. Family means everything. Real family, he pointed at me. That thing over there is the disgrace of our family, the embarrassment to everything we have built. The room froze. Awkward silence hung like a thick fog. Nervous chuckles, probably Garrett's friends, while most stared, shocked. 214 eyes on me? Mother stood, took the microphone. Vincent is right. We really should have put her up for adoption. Keeping her was the worst decision we ever made. She sat, sipping champagne. Silence was worse than laughter. I could hear ice clinking in glasses 2 tables away, phones vibrating, a fork dropped in the kitchen, echoing like a gunshot in the ballroom. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I looked at my hands, inhaled deeply, and slowly rose. The chair scraped against the floor, a sharp sound cutting through the dead quiet. Every eye in the ballroom was on me to 114 pairs of ice. Business partners, board members, community leaders, even Stephanie's wealthy family and friends they were all waiting for my reaction. I calmly placed my napkin on the table, folding it carefully, deliberately, as if time had slowed down. I had all the time in the world for each precise movement. Then I picked up my clutch and began walking. Step by step, I didn't run, I didn't stumble. Not a hint of hesitation would show. I passed the champagne station. The servers froze, staring at me, unsure whether to clap or look away. I crossed the dance floor. The DJ had long since stopped the music. Silence filled the room. I walked past the $6,000 3-tiered wedding cake, the sugar flowers sparkling under the lights, painfully glaring. Garrett's table was next. He wore that frozen smile, locked onto his face. Stephanie kept her eyes on her plate, refusing to meet mine. I moved past Father. He looked satisfied, as if finally voicing a thought he'd been holding for 31 years. Mother had returned to her caramel pudding, not bothering to glance at me. Steppy by steppy, I crossed the ballroom, pushed open the double doors, and entered the hallway. The outside noise faded into a blur. I walked to the elevator, pressed the button, and waited quietly. Ding! The doors slid open. I stepped in, and as they closed behind me, I exhaled for the first time. In the mirror, I saw my reflection. Navy dress, grandma's silver ring on my finger. Face calm, composed. I whispered to myself, 72 hours. 72 hours? And they'll know everything. 9:43 p.m., I returned to my hotel room. I opened my laptop, typed the email subject, execute Phoenix plan immediately, and pressed send. The next day, Sunday, November 17th, at 9:03 a.m., Christopher issued an urgent board meeting notice demanding all members attend Wednesday, November 19th at 2 p.m., father received the notice in Chicago at 8:03 a.m. From that moment, he called Christopher frantically 12 calls by 10:30, all voicemail. Around noon, he Googled, "Can investors fire a CEO?" 7 chimis. By evening, he dug out a 6-year-old operating agreement and finally realized he had lost control of the company. Tuesday morning, I flew to Chicago to meet Christopher at Morrison and read LLP 1 hour of final preparations. We checked every document, 7 binders, 127 pages each. "This is the last chance," Christopher said. "Looking at me. Are you sure you want to do this?" I brushed my fingers over Grandma's ring. "Steady. I've never been more sure." Wednesday, 1:45 p.m., attendees began arriving. Father Vincent, sweat beading on his forehead. Mother Eleanor, clutching her purse. Tense. External board members Roland Hayes and Patricia Brennan were present. Garrett, in a wrinkled suit, looked anxious. Aunt Judith, somber, silent. 1:58 p.m. I entered the conference room. Vincent's face changed instantly. "What is she doing here?" he demanded. Christopher stood, serious. "Mr. Elwood, Ms. Elwood, represents Silver Point Holdings. She does not work for Silver Point. She is the sole beneficial owner. Since April 2nd, 2019, she has held 51% of Lewood Industries. Combined with the 2% left to her by her grandmother, Dorothy Elwood, she owns 53% of the company." The room fell completely silent. 34 seconds of dead air. Vincent's face turned pale. "Impossible," he whispered. "It's true," I said calmly. "Every document, signature, and board vote over the past 6 years was valid and under my authority." Garrett finally found his voice, shouting, "You liar! You tricked us for 6 years." I stared into his eyes, cold. "No, Garrett, you've been deceiving yourselves all along. I've been saving the company you destroyed. That's the difference." Christopher brought up the first slide. The ownership chart. Silver Point Holdings registered in Delaware on March 19, 2019, with Brenda Elwood as the beneficial owner. On April 2, 2019, she acquired 51%, add Grandma Dorothy's 2%, total 53% control. Black and white, indisputable. Next, he presented 6 years of company operations. Every strategic decision, every business adjustment, every turnaround traced back to Silver Point's directives. All written by me. From pandemic pivots to landing major clients, every resurrection of the company was mine. Then, Garrett's expense, fraud. Christopher displayed evidence. Aspen ski trip, $14,200. Instagram shows college friends, but listed as Henderson Client Entertainment. Company policy limits client entertainment to $6,000 per year. Miami vacation, $9,800. No meeting registration. Spa and resort charges. Instagram shows girlfriend at beach club. Designer suits, $6,500. Nordstrom receipts, not company-approved attire. Garrett tried to argue those were clients. Christopher didn't look up. Mr. Elwood tagged Instagram users. Checked LinkedIn. None affiliated with Henderson Manufacturing or Lewood clients. Continued denying.